There's a new blockchain and token launching called MegaETH. That's what's inspired this video. It got me asking the question, from a marketing perspective, what are they trying to achieve after token launch, after network launch, right? Mainnet launch. I thought, well, obviously they're going to want to hype the project and it's all about hype, right? But then the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's like, no, really, the real win for them is getting people to stick, just like in any SaaS app. And what I figure is the way to get them to stick is to get them to do something very boring, very simple, and very tame or calm. And I'm going to explain what that is. We are Dropkick Copy, Olympic level direct response marketers, World Federation champions. Our oversight translates well to all levels of the funnel, but it's the bottom of the funnel where retention exists that interests us the most. There's a link in the description box below. You can watch my partner interview some of our past clients, but finish watching the rest of this video. Just some pretext, I'm making this video not only as a marketer who's interested into what retains people, but I'm also making it as someone who's used crypto. I've been a liquidity provider, I've bought tokens, I've been an early investor on certain things, bought tokens really cheap, been scammed, all of that. I've gone through all of it. So this is coming from real experience as a retail crypto user. And while I could suggest so many things for people to try, for the owners of this project to try, right? I'm going to only focus on I've narrowed my scope of options to more stable, sound things, like anything that can be done with BTC, ETH, stable coins, and such. I'm not trying to get people to buy NFTs. I wouldn't try to get people to get into any kind of meme coins and such, right? So that's how I'm approaching this, because I, as a retail investor, retail token holder, I'd skirt all that stuff and go straight for the safer stuff, right? So that's what's inspiring my thinking here. So if I were MegaETH, I'd want to have here's what I'd need. This is the basic pieces. I'd need a liquidity pool, stablecoin liquidity pool, USDC, USDT. I'd need ways of creating metrics, capturing metric data. Like, so how do you say, net retained revenue, you want to know what that is, you want to know what lifetime value is, you want to have milestones. Just like a SaaS, like the same techniques you'd use for a SaaS app, you'd want for this, right? We have milestones and cohorts and epochs and timelines and such, right? And you also want to have a kind of profit and loss, some sort of profit and loss reporting to know how the behavior of each cohort changes over time. Okay? Basically, that's what you're going to require to pull this off post-launch. Let's remind ourselves that this is like an adversarial environment, even for not just for the token holders and the people investing in crypto and buying crypto, but also for the developers and the builders of the network, right? You're dealing with a market that describes themselves as degenerates, degen gamblers, and cold mechanical traders, They're trying to be a bit detached about what they do. So getting people to stick is challenging. And the question in the back of the mind always is, if I can get this APY here, or if I can get this benefit here, maybe I can get it somewhere else too, and maybe there's more profit to be made somewhere else. So they're always looking to flee to a place of higher risk-adjusted returns. Yeah. So when a new network launches with a new token and stuff, so post-launch, you want to be solving that question, answering that question in the back of their minds, and letting them know that it's better off to stay here on MegaETH. You want to give them reasons to do that, reasons to stay, and it needs to be apparent to them. So this is how I'd set this up, right? First of all, I define what the starting point for retention should be. So retention starts post-purchase, right? In the cryptocurrency context, what is that post-purchase point? What is that point? So is it that they connect their wallet to your dashboard, or is it that they bought the token, your token, MegaETH token, right? Whatever it is, define that, yeah, and then create some sort of onboarding plan to implement some sort of onboarding process. Now, I've bought many tokens, I've dabbled with many projects. Rarely has there ever been any kind of onboarding process. They just leave it up to you to figure it out, right? And I was like wondering, why is that? Why don't they help people onboard, because y'all are trying to be the future of finance and mainstreamed and all this type of thing, right? But you're not make it easy for people to understand how to use what you've got, right? It's not intuitive. So an onboarding sequence is what you gotta create, and you gotta create something for people to do, right? Because I could just buy your token and hold it and do nothing. But am I loyal to you? Not at all. I just bought the token, hoping it goes up. What you need to do is start seeding these ideas that, hey, you know, if you try to do these couple of steps, you're gonna see that transacting with us, there's real money to be earned here. There is success possible here. You can see it on a dashboard. Here's how you use the dashboard. And here's how everything's working, everything's transacting fine, so you can trust us. Nothing's going wrong. If anything goes wrong, here's who you need to call. So you want to get people attuned to all of that, right? So that requires onboarding. If you can get that to happen, the likelihood of people being retained is higher. And the thing is, what's interesting is, like, as a crypto business, you're a bit liable to what you claim, right? So you can't just make all kinds of promises. Oh, numbers gonna go up. You're right. You can't just say those types of things, right? So I figure onboarding them into a stable coin pool, USDC, is low-hanging fruit. You know, there's no impermanent loss there. These are structurally fully backed, integrated stable coins. They're not going anywhere soon. So it's quite possible that whoever's concerned about the legal side of your business will okay this. You know, you can onboard people into a stable coin pool, even if it's a small amount of money, right? It's important though in the process to get them to understand what they're doing and understand the risks, right? So I'd kind of set up an onboarding process that walks them through everything, gets them to learn about the risks and how liquidity positions work, and also possibly run a small quiz so that they prove that they understand everything they're about to do, right? This is beautiful actually as a mechanic because it qualifies people in a real significant way, right? There's a huge difference between somebody who's gone through the onboarding process and taken a quiz versus somebody who doesn't. And they've shown such a high level of engagement already, right? So I'd set something like that up and get them to park some funds in a USDT pool. Once they do that, they start seeing that, hey, you know, this is how making money works on this network. This is crypto. I'm in crypto right now and we're about to make some money. This is good. This feels like a win. Because what are we doing here, right? We're trying to create time to first value. We're trying to create a moment where people experience the value of dealing with you. We're trying to guide that. And we're also trying to measure the time to first value, right? We're going to call these little milestones. They used the dashboard, they saw the APY number, they withdrew the money and put it back in again in a different way, you know, whatever you want to call it. There's certain value moments where they get to experience the structural integrity of what you're building and get to experience that there is some transactional benefit here, right? This onboarding process is going to give you metrics you can work with, and they're going to become meaningful later. How I look at it is, the onboarding sequence itself is the first product, okay? Because it's their first experience dealing with you. Yeah. So it's not just the liquidity position or the staking that they do. That's not the product. It's the journey of getting involved with you and how you curate that experience and design it for them. Everything you've designed around that. You can get your UX guys and marketing guys and copy guys and whoever, everybody to interact together and build this experience going from 0 to 1, right? If that 0 to 1 experience is designed really well, the theory would be tested, that you'd have to test the theory that this is going to actually influence retention. I'm going to show you how to test that theory. So design this well, retention should increase. That's what I'm saying. The main thing you want to do, right? The main thing you want to do is figure out what friction looks like to them and alleviate the friction, remove the friction. You're going to figure out what their fears are, alleviate their fears. You want to be transparent as much as possible about risks. Yeah, and you want to answer all these, clear all these doubts and remove all these obstacles early on, right? This onboarding process is about doing all that. Removing obstacles and clearing doubts early on so that you don't have to talk about those things later, right? The people that go through this onboarding sequence are going to experience that. The people who don't, they're not going to experience any of that, and that's significant. I'll explain why. And just like a SaaS business, you're going to be running this, you're going to be, how do you say, man? You're going to be creating an epoch, a time period. You're going to be segmenting people by group, and you're going to be seeing where they're at in 90 days, right? Have they hit all the milestones? What have they done in the app so far? Have they done nothing? Have they even been through the onboarding sequence, right? So you're going to get a lot of data about the behavior of people who've bought your token and interact with you in some way, right? That's going to allow you to figure out how much revenue is being retained, whether it's growing or shrinking, right? And you're going to be doing a lot of data capture around this, right? So set a time period, define cohorts, set a time period, and capture data around their behavior. You're trying to find out other things to do. Is there a margin? Is there a margin difference when you serve a cohort with the onboarding sequence versus not, right? So dig into the metrics, figure out what you need to learn, figure out the different type of things you can learn. I don't know about this part because this is specific to crypto, and I've not dealt with the back end of crypto like that. But get a sense of them, run people through the onboarding sequence, capture metrics, get a sense of how the onboarding sequence is actually shifting things, improving things or not improving things, right? And you have to have a control group. The control group is obviously going to be the people that didn't get put through the onboarding sequence, right? Because it's like at the end of a period, you can actually run some sort of a P&L review, and you can judge whether the effort you've put in designing the onboarding sequence has actually had some sort of an impact on retention, right? So you want to have the cohort that went through the onboarding sequence versus the cohort that didn't, and see if there is actually a difference. There might be, there might not be, right? But this is what I would do. I would run something like this, and it's very easy to implement, really. This is how I feel you will get your first evidence of transactional and structural loyalty. It should show in the numbers, yeah. And you want to involve other people in the team as well. You know, the UX guys and finance guys and whoever it is, right? Get everybody's heads involved. Figure out what you can make. This onboarding experience is a product, right? And then everybody checks back in with each other every 90 days or so to see how the status of loyalty, the status of retention, right? Notice that this is vastly different from just getting somebody to buy a token and hold it, right? Now you're talking about architecture. You're architecting and designing something that holds people in and keeps people coming back, right? This is a different level than just launching a token and letting everybody decide what they want to do with it, right? So that is my offer to MegaETH, the founders. If you all want a pro tip from a marketer on what I would do, right? I'd focus more on the retention part, not just the top of the funnel stuff, because the retention part is the bread and butter of this whole thing, right? Create an onboarding sequence, productize it, develop it, design it in a very interesting way, put a lot of focus on it, measure everything about it. If it's working on one pool, it's going to work on another pool, right? And that cohort that goes through that onboarding sequence is a special cohort. They've maybe signaled that they'd be interested in going through other sequences with you, right? So you can maybe onboard them into multiple things, right? Over time, you could test that cohort and see how well they do, yeah? Getting users to go through these types of processes with you is mad useful, right? For any type of business, especially in a SaaS business, which you are really. Right, so I hope this video makes sense. It's a bit niche and a bit technical. I try to minimize the technical stuff to make it simple to understand. Just kind of broad strokes, I'm going to be making other videos on this topic of loyalty in crypto. Check those out. Till the next time, take it easy.